Welcome back. Last time on Square's Wild Ride, Chapter 1 ended with our plucky eco-terrorists having just narrowly escaped the Mako reactor facility before it was destroyed in an explosion powerful enough to knock around cars a good half-mile away. Chapter 2 fades in with them standing around, not just alive, but completely uninjured. The explosion was powerful enough to break apart large pieces of concrete if the debris littering the corridor therein is any indication, but Cloud's yee-ass anime hairdo isn't even must. And you know what? I'm nitpicking. I'll play along with this. But I will say that this, among other things, sets an incontrovertible precedent. These people are extremely tough and very hard to kill. In the gameplay, Cloud and Barret have been shot with bullets, missiles,
frickin' laser beams,
and clobbered by mechs, which should turn a normal person into blood soup. In cutscenes, Jessie was totally unaffected by a quarter ton of concrete landing on her leg. Cloud has the bone density and joint strength to jump 10 feet into the air and drop at least 15 feet to land on solid concrete, while holding a sword that has to weigh 60 pounds at a minimum, all without injury. And being within spitting distance of an explosion that damaged buildings and infrastructure across multiple city blocks barely even inconvenienced them. And later, there's an item shop that sells potions and such explicitly mentioned in cutscene, so all that's canon. I only bring this up to mention that if they want the player to, at some point, believe a character is in real danger, they're going to have to kick it up a notch. And they really better pull out all the stops if they want to kill a character. They can't have some silly, slowly dying in another character's arms act. Potions exist. They better not even leave an intact corpse because, Phoenix Down exists. They had certainly better not try to kill off a core party member through something as relatively pissant as a routine stab wound. They had better not. I'm not kidding. I will absolutely lose my shit. Barret questions Jessie as to why the explosion was so large. See, the player saw the cutscene with the sinister corpos using mechs to cause that massive explosion, but the actual characters did not get to see that. Having the characters properly react to the explosion as if they caused it, because they have no reason to think they didn't, is a good bit of continuity. Credit where credit is due, this is good writing, and I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Jessie responds to Barret by saying she, quote,
"Follow the instructions to the letter."
Instructions, darling? Did you just stroll down to the IKEA store to get a build-it-yourself bomb with a little instruction booklet? Why have her say something this inane? Why not have her say that she knows the yield of her explosives and make her look like she actually knows what she's doing instead of a moron LARPing as a terrorist? Anyway, Jessie speculates that the explosion may have been caused by a reaction with the Mako. Barret shows at least some concern for the surrounding city, and Biggs interjects with,
"But the planet's what matters, right?"
Biggs, you sociopath. The planet doesn't do anyone any good if you've blown them all up. But we'll get more into that in a minute. Jessie urges the group to get moving and asks if they're in Sector 8. Sweetheart, do you not live in this city? Didn't you know ahead of time that you were going to the Mako reactor in Sector 8? That Mako reactor you just narrowly escaped from? How do you not know this? This is like me asking a friend if I'm currently in my home state. Oh, I see. This line is clumsy exposition so the player understands they're in Sector 8, because there's no other indication that would be the case. Now that I think about it, we were in Mako reactor number 1. Was that in Sector 8 or Sector 1? If it was in Sector 1, how did we get to Sector 8, and why does it seem like we're still quite close to the reactor, given we're still within the debris of the explosion? If it was within Sector 8, why is it called Mako Reactor 1 instead of Mako Reactor 8? What the fuck is going on?
I am so confused.
Oh god, welcome back to a JRPG. This is what I get for expecting anything to make sense. So Wedge guides the group down the corridor at a tediously slow walking speed, because every last inch of this game must be drawn out to the greatest degree possible to make it long enough to justify selling it to you, the pay pig, in 3 full-price installments. Throughout this corridor, there are large pieces of broken concrete littered around, despite the walls and ceilings showing no damage or chunks missing. I guess the concrete debris just materialized here out of thin air. This is a nitpick that doesn't really have any effect on anything, but it's also lazy environment design. A little ways on, Jesse uses an explosive charge to blow open a door in this cramped tunnel. Somehow, the entire group can still hear after this. We'll just call it more evidence that these people are incredibly physically tough. This allows our terrorists to leave the tunnel and make it to the city streets. As a public address system advises the public on the attack and damages, the group observes a scene of damaged buildings, fires, and I think I even see a collapsed bridge amongst all the mess. All of what they believe is a result of their terrorist attack on a power plant. Surely, at least dozens were killed as a result of all this destruction in a populated city center, to say nothing of all the Shinra guards I turned into EXP, and the party stands in shock as the gravity of their sins weighs down upon them. For like a second, they almost immediately shrug it off and recommit to their plan to blow up all the other reactors, saying that they knew this was going to get messy. They say nothing is ever won without sacrifice. Wedge even says, direct quote,
"And this is only the beginning."
What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy!
Let me take a moment to be real clear about what is happening here. The party blew up one of 8 Mako reactors. They believe this caused significant damage to multiple city blocks in the vicinity. More importantly, we were shown this knocking out power to the area around the reactor. It has not been told, shown, or even hinted at that there is a source of power for this massive city that isn't the Mako reactors. In light of all of this, Captain Asshole and the Planeteers here immediately, and I mean immediately, reaffirm their plan to blow up the other 7 reactors, ostensibly knocking out power to the entire city and surely killing at least dozens, probably more like hundreds, just in the bombings. Then consider that a city this massive must be relying upon refrigeration in order to supply food to its residents. No power, no refrigeration. No refrigeration, all the food spoils. And sanitation services like garbage disposal are probably going to be interrupted. Even pumping gas to fuel cars and trains is likely dependent on electricity to work the pumps. Medical equipment probably also relies on electricity from the Mako reactors. Central heating or air conditioning would also be knocked out. I wouldn't be surprised if electricity is used to aid the manufacture of potions. So, knocking out power to the entire city is invariably going to cause famine, plague, riots. Basically, all 4 horsemen are going to descend upon this city as a result. Tens of thousands dead, at a minimum. It could potentially stretch into the millions, with most of the survivors left to flee the city in order to survive. In summation, the protagonists, the heroes, our baby faces, plan to visit a level of ruin upon this city and all its denizens that could only be described as Old Testament.
Are we the baddies?
Fuck you people, I'm rooting for Shinra now. Oh, but they're saving the planet, so that makes their plan to decimate a city of millions okay. Never mind, we haven't been shown at all that the planet is suffering because world building isn't something this disaster of a game could be bothered to do. We have to take the word of a maniac with a Gatling gun for an arm, and that's enough to commit mass murder, I guess.
Fuck it.
As a short philosophical aside, what is the point of saving the fucking planet if you have to kill everyone living on it to do so? The whole point of having a planet is being able to live on it, you twats. But I guess these nitwits show about as much self-awareness, foresight, and critical thinking skills as most IRL environmentalists, so you gotta give the game credit for realism if nothing else. And listen, while I didn't play the original game, I do spend too much time on the internet, so I've been exposed to the original a fair amount. And I get the feeling that, at some point, the main plot thread is going to completely diverge from this eco-terrorism angle for something far more wacky, properly befitting a JRPG. And when that happens, this psychotic plan to eradicate a whole city will never be brought up again. I just want to stress that this game is treating these deranged, up-jumped gibbons as the heroes of the story, despite being more akin to cartoonish supervillains, because this game is shit. Oh Jesus save me, I'm only like 5 minutes into the chapter and 10 minutes into this video. I'm moving this along. This pile of chromosomes is not worth this much effort. I don't know why I'm putting so much thought into basic plot points to begin with, when the clouds that made this game clearly did not do so. So the group decides to split up in order to keep a low profile while making their way to a train station to catch a ride back to their base. After they run off, we regain control of Cloud. Cloud rounds a corner to be stopped by Jessie, who is simping hard. She gives Cloud a healing materia as thanks for saving her life, tells him she's lucky he was there to save her from the quarter-ton concrete block that didn't actually hurt her at all. Yes, I'm still mad about that. And, with the city burning in the background, gives Cloud Senpai her best "please do me like the dishes" face. Cloud, however, is running Thought Patrol, so he tells her, in essence, "Lol, get good, learn to play, scrub." Jessie pretends it doesn't hurt. At this point, the only thing I really care about in this game is if Jessie ever gets laid. The girl clearly needs it. We then get a tutorial for how to use materia, and Jessie runs off. We move along until the street is blocked by rubble, and our control of Cloud is interrupted by Jessie shouting to him that all of the rubble could collapse at any moment while she's standing on all the rubble.
Is she retarded?
This is an excuse for Jessie to point us towards the staircase that we need to take to proceed. The staircase which was in our field of view when she interrupted us. What the fuck was the point of putting this interaction in the game? All it does is tell the player something even a gaming journalist could have figured out, while making Jessie look like a complete moron. This game is already littered with scenes like this that accomplish nothing but waste time and make everything dumber. Jessie trapped under concrete? A complete waste of time that led nowhere and caused me to question if Jessie was secretly a Terminator, but did eat up a whole minute. Take time to show us Tweedle Dumbass and Tweedle Fat Fucking Dumbass calling to Cloud while 5 feet from guards they were sneaking past? A complete waste of time that led nowhere and killed any sense of stakes to the entire mission. Jessie tripping? A complete waste of time that led nowhere and made Cloud look like a putz. The laser defense system? A complete waste of time that had no earthly business existing at all. And that's the point. It's to waste time. Because if you trimmed this fat out of the game, even the fanboys would have a hard time bending over backwards to justify Square Enix's decision to make this remake 3 separate releases. So I hope you feel better about buying this game 3 times. All it took to make that happen was destroying the quality of the narrative. God damn it, I said I was going to move this along. Cloud goes up the stairs to the rubble. The rubble collapses before he could get to the fire escape on the other side to take to the roofs, leaving him on the street on the other side of the rubble. Happily, the train station is less than a block away. Don't know why he wanted to take to the roofs to go that far, fuck it, keeping it moving. Before we can reach the train station, a section of Ray's highway collapses, clearly crushing a good half a dozen people to death under it. Saving the planet, guys! This causes Cloud to stop and notice a fire, which causes some PTSD flashback, even though he had been walking past fires for 3 blocks without issue. In this flashback, he sees a tall man with long silver hair. Cloud snaps out of the flashback and turns around only to come face to chest with tall, dark, and fine. Fallen chunks of building crush a fire truck, saving the planet, guys, and cause an explosion. When Cloud looks up, the Bishonen is walking away. We then follow after the mysterious man at the slowest walking speed ever in order to pad out the runtime as much as possible. Fast forward. When we catch up to Sephiroth, that's his name in case you're the last person on Earth to learn this, Cloud claims that Seph is dead and that Cloud killed him. Sephiroth agrees and says, like Barrett has mentioned, that the planet is dying, so at least now I have the word of 2 separate crazy people on that. It'd still be nice to be shown evidence of that claim in any form or fashion. Sephiroth brags about killing Cloud's mom and asks Cloud for a favor. Not how I usually build to asking people to do stuff for me, but maybe I'm just not handsome enough to pull it off. Seph wants Cloud to run away. He doesn't mention from what or where to, but does clarify that Cloud needs to run away and live, because apparently he couldn't bear to live in a world without Cloud.
You said something gay, so you gotta say no homo, or else you the homo.
Cloud decides he's heard enough and tries to cleft his hallucination in twain, causing the whole hallucination to end. But as Cloud stands confused in an alleyway, he hears Sephiroth's voice tell Cloud to hold on to that hatred. In the last video, I mentioned good why and bad why. Probably better said as good questions and bad questions. Good questions are something like, what is this antagonist planning? Or, what is the history between these two characters? Bad questions are, what in the hell is going on? And are these people psychotic or just stupid? Good questions cause intrigue. Bad questions cause insanity. This scene right here with Sephiroth was an example of good questions. Why does Cloud think he killed Sephiroth? If he did kill Sephiroth, how is Sephiroth alive? What are the details of the history of these two? What is Sephiroth's angle in all of this? Why didn't Sephiroth say no homo? I'm not joking, this is honestly great. It's about time this game gave me anything resembling a competent plot thread, and I finally have something to look forward to in this game besides my gag quest to see if Jesse ever gets plowed like cornfields. Excellent! So Cloud nervously dismisses the hallucination as a result of huffing Mako fumes and proceeds down the alleyway and back to the street. He passes a lot of people who don't seem to pay any heed to the man carrying a sword bigger than he is as he casually strolls away from the site of a terrorist attack. A woman even helpfully gives directions to Cloud like he's any other guy. Cloud follows the directions and winds up on another street where a deeply autistic trad wife is spurging out in the middle of the road. Then Sephiroth out of nowhere. He says Cloud is weak and can't save anyone. This causes Cloud to spurg out in the middle of the road until Tradwife, now labeled as Flower Peddler, gets his attention. They talk, it's alright, Flower Peddler gives Cloud a flower for free because she doesn't understand how flower peddling is supposed to work. She starts spurging out again, and reaching out to grab Cloud for help causes Cloud to see Death Eaters, or Dementors, or Ring Wraiths, or whatever the fuck they were from Harry Potter, swarming the girl. Cloud tries to fight them off, but his sword appears to have no effect. And you know what? 2 in a row. I'm interested in who this girl is, why she can see these things when no one else can, and why her touching Cloud lets him see them. This is a wacky fantasy story, so maybe these are finally some actual evidence of the planet dying or whatever. Maybe this story is turning around. So then the cops show up, the girl who they saw talking with the wanted terrorist runs off at the mere sight of the cops, and the cops don't detain her, pursue her, shoot her, or otherwise even acknowledge she exists.
For the love of God!
So now we're moving through the city, slaughtering hilariously impotent cops who keep showing up in small groups because they don't have the brains God gave to wolves, and thus can't actually coordinate a group attack worth half a shit. At one point, there's a Shinra helicopter communicating via radio, so these ass clowns definitely have radio communications in order to coordinate. And good lord is the body count piling up. Awful lot of guys aren't going home to their wives and kids tonight. This might be why most RPGs have the sense to make their dippy EXP fodder enemies random animals or monsters or some shit. That way there's an excuse for them to be dumb as rocks and there's no moral quandary about murderizing them for kicks. The alternative is actually show us something that might suggest these guys are actually evil and don't make them so astoundingly stupid and ineffective. Though from a purely gameplay standpoint, I can't say that paddling these fools isn't fun, it's just a shame about the narrative in this narrative-driven game. I guess this is also a good time to mention that it's specifically a Shinra helicopter. See, I had thought Shinra was just some business entity running the Maka reactors, but I guess they're actually the whole ass government and these are their police? I mean, okay, but I shouldn't have to infer such basic, fundamental details about the way this world works from enemy combat chatter. Shit like this should be clearly communicated to the player, my god. So we hack and we slash and we hack and we slash and we hack and we slash, and eventually Shinra gets its shit together and manages to surround Cloud with significant numbers. They even send a special named enemy, the Huntsman, after us. Though this makes me wonder, is Cloud the only soldier on the planet? Surely not, since Barrett said Shinra often has soldiers guarding Maka reactors. There wasn't one at the Maka reactor we blew up, but that makes sense because Shinra seems to have wanted that one blown up. But now that Cloud has torn ass through an entire Shinra battalion, and they are definitively trying to kill Cloud,
Open fire! Shoot to kill!
why not call in a soldier? Or multiple soldiers? Did you already forget the few shreds of world building you bothered with, game? Eventually, one of the Shinra goons seems to recognize Cloud, or something about him, as Cloud gets the pangs of a flashback headache. No flashback though. Cloud then decides to bolt by jumping onto the roof of a passing train, and the Shinra goons just watch him ride away.
You shitting me?
You piles of chromosomes know that rifles aren't melee weapons, right? Shoot him, you fucking cretins! Though maybe I can be charitable and say they were hesitant to spray bullets at a passenger train, even though they had no problem spraying bullets and flinging grenades across many city blocks. Hey, it's Future Red, man. This game is like an onion of retardation. Just layers and layers of it. So much so that past Red Man missed some anal retentive details on first pass that I, Future Red Man, noticed while editing. I just want to point out that Cloud jumped onto a train, yeah? Not a boat, not a car, a train. A vehicle rather famous for being literally on rails. Shinra lackey dumb fucks. Just radio ahead, tell everyone he jumped on the C train or whatever, and be waiting at the next stop to look for the only blonde in the whole fucking city. I mean, if he can jump onto a moving train, it stands to reason that he could jump off, but Shinra doesn't seem to have any shortage of these grunt piss whistles, so give it a shot. Because, as we are about to see, it would have worked. They would have just found all the terrorists and the game would have just been over. Oh. That's why they didn't do it, eh? The plot just wouldn't work if Shinra wasn't a pack of serial dipshits. Great writing there, really, just aces. But that's all I, Future Red Man, had to say. For now. I'm gonna throw you back to past Red Man now. Enjoy. Fuck it. Cloud regroups with the rest in a freight car, as planned. Cloud asks about the ring wraiths that were harassing Tradwife, and the group looks at him like he's grown a second head. That conversation is wrapped up, and the highly conspicuous group of wanted terrorists move out of the freight car they were alone in and into a passenger car with all their armor and weapons in full view of everyone.
But why though?
Why would you dipshits do this? Sit tight and shut the fuck up until you reach your stop, then quietly disembark. But maybe I'm overreacting. It's not like Barrett is making a big scene and drawing loads of totally unnecessary attention to himself for no good fucking reason. Oh god, here we go. A lady nearby calls the people that blew up the reactor maniacs. The guy sitting next to her said he heard it was Avalanche. Everyone scoffs at Avalanche. Barrett, dumbfuck walkin', interjects to say everyone knows Avalanche only cares about saving the planet, cause they certainly don't give a screaming shit about civilian casualties. He continues about how the bombing was a message to the bastards bleeding the planet dry.
Asshole, major asshole.
Barrett, you unfathomable retard. You realize that everyone in that train car knows you're a terrorist now, right? So when your stupid ass gets off the train, they're going to be able to tell Shinra which stop is the stop for what's probably your place of residence. All because you couldn't stay in the fucking freight car, you goddamned fuck trumpet. Hell, they could go to any of the train staff right now to report this shit, and if there's a radio on this train, you're completely fucked. I'm sure that won't actually happen though. There's not going to be any gay shit like cause and effect in this game. Barrett reassures himself that they're the good guys, which, yeah, hundreds dead, your plan to utterly destroy a city of millions in full motion, and you just intimidated civilians for being annoyed at a terrorist attack. Fuck you, just fuck you. I think I'm supposed to have sympathy for him and his struggle, either against the evil corporation, man, or against his own conscience, but there's no actual shades of gray shown thus far. It's just a pack of fucking lunatics trying to destroy a city and being remarkably cavalier about it. Cloud moves on to talk to Jesse, who explains the city of Midgar is a series of massive steel plates suspended 300 meters above ground level, all sustained by the Mako reactors. She explains this to Cloud, who would obviously know all of this already. She also does this with the aid of visuals on a flat-screen television that happened to be on this train that she can somehow use at her whim. What the fuck even am I watching? They then go through some automatic ID checkpoint thing that Jesse says scans the IDs of everyone on the train to check their address and criminal history and so on, and finally, something resembling actual evidence that Shinra may be evil. Maybe we should be attacking their HQ or something instead of trying to exterminate the entire city. Hey, it's me, Future Red Man, again. I just wanted to point out how fucking stupid this ID scanner and its implementation are. Why, in the hollering shit, is the ID scanner only implemented when the train passes through it after having been in motion for at least several minutes? Why isn't this something on board the railcars themselves? You know, something that would scan the IDs of passengers as they enter or exit? There's no conceivable reason the ID scans couldn't be set up like that, and it would be really handy for detecting people hiding in the ass-ramming freight car, even if they had fake IDs. For that matter, why didn't the train station that everybody but Cloud ostensibly went through have ID scanners itself? You know, so that they might actually be able to prevent fugitives or terrorists from getting on the civilian passenger train in the first fucking place. But hey, at least this is keeping Shinra consistent as a pack of terminally moronic bellends. This is exactly as stupid as that ass-brained laser defense bullshit from the first chapter. I will never stop being mad about that. I'm throwing you back to past, Redman, and going to get me a drink now. A nice, stiff drink, so I can continue editing. See you later, I'm afraid. The group's fake IDs work, and Barrett whines about the excruciatingly contrived class warfare setup of Midgar like a Bernie Sanders voter. Cloud tells him if that's the case to just leave the city.
Oh my brother, testify!
Barrett comes back with, not everyone has that choice. Well then, Barrett, I have to wonder what their selection of choices will be once you plunge the entire city into famine and chaos by knocking out all the power plants, you fucking short-sighted brainlet. I'm spending too much time belaboring this cancer. The train reaches our stop and the highly conspicuous group of terrorists disembark openly in front of God and everyone like they're actually aware of their own plot armor. Wedge even says this on a public train platform with people all around him.
Bombs detonated 1, members lost 0.
Whatever, fuck it, nothing matters. Every word pads the game out more. Moving on. Barrett actually chides them to keep their voices down as people are listening. Here's Barrett immediately after stepping off the train.
Hot damn, we are good! Yes!
Fucking shit for brains!
I can't even with this shit. How does something this fucking stupid get made? Future Red Man, making it a three-peat. I'm going to make this quick or else the video will never end. I need to stress just how downright gleeful these jackasses are about the entire scenario. Like, game, either have a plot about protagonists having to do destructive and or unpleasant stuff for some greater good or cause, or have a light-hearted fantasy romp where your characters celebrate their actions like they just won a rec league basketball game. This god-awful mess of a game combined the two, and as a result, the heroes look less like heroes and more like deranged imbeciles, which is bad writing. Back to past Red Man now, while I go get more beer. Barrett tells Cloud they'll meet at 7th Heaven. As Cloud moves on, he encounters someone grousing about eco-terrorists and their posters. I feel you, buddy. Cloud hallucinates an explosion from the city's plate above, and the ring wraiths come back, then fly off. Biggs talks about getting a hot shower. Not very eco-friendly of you, you twat. How are you gonna get hot water when you blow up the reactors? Are these people genuinely retarded? Fuck it, moving on. I'd just like to note that this place is specifically referred to as the Sector 7 slums. This will be important later. We reach the 7th heaven and meet Tifa, but it's more fun to me to call her Melons, so that's what I'm gonna do. Melons notices the flower that Tradwife gave Cloud and says she can't remember the last time she saw a real one. Cloud gives her the flower because he is a simp. The small child in the bar runs away from Cloud because he was, standing there, and Barrett flips out. See, that's his kid, and he's a caring father who is probably going to doom his kid to starvation when his eco-terrorism destroys the whole food supply chain, you fucking putz. Barrett takes the kid, Marlene, her name is Marlene by the way, upstairs to bed. Melons waves her melons at Cloud and happily asks what she can get for him. Cloud stone cold tells her to get him his motherfucking money.
When the pimp's in the crib, ma, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot.
Maybe I was too hasty in calling you a simp there, bud. Melons wants to talk about it outside. When we get outside, Melons changes the subject to setting up Cloud in a room in an apartment building down the road, and I begin to suspect willful and deliberate thoughterry. On that note, may I ask why Melons is dressed the way she is? She's wearing a tight halter top, a micro skirt, not even a mini skirt, a micro skirt, thigh-high socks, and bright red boots. Everyone else in this area is dressed like a normal person, with, shirts and pants, so it's not something with the local culture. Like, I know in the meta sense she gets a special costume because she's a main character, but in universe, why is she dressed like a prostitute? It can only be because she is a prostitute. Think about it. She's a bartender in a slum and is clearly short on money. She must be turning tricks on the side to make ends meet.
That's hot. That's a hot way to live.
I gotta say, this game is starting to grow on me. So Cloud and Melons talk as they walk. It's fine, good character interaction between them. When they get to Cloud's room, Melons notes that it's quite bare, but should get him through the night. She says if there's anything else Cloud wants, they can surely get it for him. Cloud, in response, stone cold tells her to bring him his motherfucking money. Cloud is quickly becoming my favorite character. He says she owes him 2,000 gil. Melons gives him 500 gil and says she can pay him the rest if he helps her with more work.
You done lost your damn mind.
Cloud, in a moment of simpness, doesn't rip her Melons off for this. Instead, he agrees to do free work for Melons in order to get the money she already owes him. Pretty girls really can get away with anything, can't they? Some Melons leaves and Cloud goes to sleep. Cloud is later woken up by weird noises in the next apartment and goes to do something about it. Cloud goes in the neighboring apartment, hallucinates Sephiroth, tries to draw his sword, gets mounted by Sephiroth.
Ooh, wow, gay!
Cloud beats Sephiroth off.
It's gay, even worse. It's homosexual.
Is interrupted by some vision that will hopefully make sense at some point in the future, and when he snaps back to it, he realizes that wasn't Sephiroth, but some Asian reject. Melon says his name is Marco and asks Cloud to look out for him. For free, of course. Come morning, Cloud has a quick chat with the landlady, Marl, and we're off to 7th Heaven. Once there, Melons explains that they're going to be selling water filters and Cloud is bored nearly to tears. Our first stop is the item store. So items are definitively canon. In cutscenes. No excuse for them to magically not be in cutscenes later on. The next stop is with Marl, and she spends it roasting Cloud. It's amusing, but it's also just padding. Our final stop is the weapons store. The guy at the desk is angry because the last filter he bought didn't work. Melons then insists the weapons store clerk pay full price for the new filter. He is disinclined to acquiesce, as you can imagine, and Melons threatens him with Cloud.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Has this bitch lost her goddamn mind? She's trying to shake down a weapons store after having already essentially conned the guy once by selling him a broken filter. There are guns in this universe, as we are about to see. Why is she not shot? I don't care if they're longtime associates or friends or neighbors or whatever. If my own mother tried to pull some shit like this, I'd be whipping out the chrome. More importantly, when are we going to get a babyface character that's actually likable and not a despicable lunatic? Fuck it, nothing matters. Just look at the melons and get excited for next Melons. So after taking care of that little instance of racketeering, Melons suggests Cloud do busy work in order to build a reputation as a merc. This is blatantly padding, but at least they bother to come up with a reasonable excuse for it. Melon's idea is to see if the neighborhood watch needs help. When we get to the neighborhood watch, it's Biggs and Wedge holding down the fort, and Biggs says,
"Truth be told, we could really use your help."
And I want you to remember that. We get a quick tutorial on how to upgrade our weapons, and it's beginning to look like the whole combat system is actually going to be pretty good. Anyway, the job is to get rid of some monsters on Scrap Boulevard, and Melons, the 120-pound female bartender slash prostitute, offers to come with. We head to Scrap Boulevard, and what the fuck am I looking at here?
You guys are fucking killing me. You're killing me.
I'll tell you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at 4, count 'em, 1, 2, 3, 4 fucking bumble cunts holding rifles. Large, magazine-fed rifles. I thought we were in the fucking slums. Biggs even said he couldn't actually pay us in gil, so where did everyone and their fucking grandmother get a goddamned machine gun from? Is that why they have no gil? They spent it all on rifles? Well then, why don't you use the fucking rifles on the monsters, instead of hiring a guy with money you don't have to go fight the monsters with a sharpened stick? Biggs said you fuckwits were desperate for help. You don't look that fucking desperate to me. You look like a pack of lazy piss whistles is what you look like. Fuck me, this is a drizzling shit's nadir of retardation. Like, these dullard slackasses are sitting around with their rifles, watching the 120-pound female bartender walk past them to go punch the monsters. Wait, what the fuck? She's punching them? Her forearms aren't as big around as my cock, and you're telling me she can punch things to death? I guess that's true if you say it is, game. And where, might I ask, did this scrawny female bartender learn how to fight like this? With Cloud, we're at least told he's a soldier, and can infer that means super wow Navy SEAL Green Beret 360 no-scope badass. With Melons, you haven't shown or even told us jack shit. She can just do this, I guess. And, like, this isn't even a live-action movie where you have to work within the constraints of your human cast. You could have made her look like anything you wanted. So why the fuck didn't you make her more muscular? This is what a female fighter looks like. This is what a female fighter looks like. In case the word video didn't clue you abysmal numbskulls in, video games are a visual medium for storytelling. That means your visuals are supposed to aid in telling the story, but your visual of a scrawny, muscleless girl whose body weight is 60% melons is unacceptable for the story of her being able to beat monsters to death with her fists. Listen, make her look pretty all you want, that's fine. Give her some tiggle bitties, great, I love it. But, for the love of Zeus, why didn't you shit-kickers think to make her look the slightest bit athletic? She's got no goddamned leg muscle, you cretins. All of your punching power comes from your legs. This is fucking disgraceful. Fuck this game. I can't put up with too much more of this stupid shit, dude. This is killing my brain. Future Red Man. Once more. Melons actually does bring up her learning to fight in some offhanded dialogue between fights. Here's the clip.
You're good at this. Charging in like it was nothing.
You too. It's a little surprising.
Well, I've been here 5 years now. If you don't look out for yourself, no one else will.
Well, that makes it okay then!
Except no, it doesn't. This explains why she learned to fight, not how. Which isn't even that important compared to other much larger questions. Questions like, Melons, you chromosome salad. Why? In order to defend yourself on the mean streets of the Sector 7 slums, did you decide to go through the, no doubt, time and labor-intensive process of learning how to fight like a Naruto character instead of just getting a gun?
Little stupid bitch! Little dumb teacher, bitch! 2 + 2 not knowing what the fuck it is, bitch!
Well, maybe it's hard to get a gun. Everyone else has one! And again, how did Melons learn how to fight like this without even accidentally building any muscle at all? In case I wasn't clear, this game is leaky shit. Back to past, Redman, before I have a stroke. So we go beat up all the monsters. The gameplay continues to be mostly alright. Shame it's in service to the most Tismic narrative I've ever seen in a video game. We finish up, go back to Abbott and Costello, Cloud has a headache, Melon suggests they go see what the weapon store has. The weapon store clerk apologizes for how he acted earlier. What the fuck is this shit? They practically robbed you, and you're apologizing. For fuck's sake, he even gives Cloud a free mega sword. Melons suggests we hit up a guy named Weimer, who is basically a human jobs board. We do so, and he gives us quests. One of these quests is to help a kid named Chadley. Seriously, that's his name. His parents dead ass named him Chadley. Anyway, Chadley is some underage kid inexplicably working for Shinra doing field research on materia. How did this twerp kid get a job studying materia for Shinra? Couldn't tell you. Why did they send this twerp kid to the Sector 7 slums without an accompanying adult as protection? Couldn't tell you. Why did Shinra and or Chadley think that the Sector 7 slums would be a good place to get some field study done on materia instead of any other place on the planet? Couldn't tell you. What I can tell you is that this means materia is canon. It's not just a gameplay mechanic, it's a full-blown part of this universe. So, assuming Shinra really is killing the planet to drill Mako from one tiny corner of it, why? Why is they do those things? You have materia, you dolts. Combine a pile of fire materia with a pile of water materia and power a steam turbine. Or cut out the middleman altogether and just use lightning materia. I suppose I should give the game a chance to explain itself. Maybe Shinra has some sinister ulterior motive that hinges on drilling Mako regardless of all else. It certainly wouldn't be the most far out thing I've seen in a fantasy game. But I am going to need some justification for this at some point in the future. They had better not totally forget to explain this. I'm not kidding, they had better fucking not! Anyway, Cloud tells Chadley that he has no interest in working for Shinra. Chadley instantly, and I do mean instantly, comes back with,
"You should know that I work actively to undermine Shinra's efforts."
Okay then. He just blurts that out right in the open in front of God and everyone. There are Shinra personnel just casually standing around this neighborhood. For fuck's sake, you are the worst double agent ever. And how does actually studying materia like Shinra ostensibly told him to do undermine their efforts? Do they not get Chadley's research on the matter? Wouldn't that lack of results raise some red flags, or at least get Chadley fired? Did no writer, editor, or director think any of this shit through? Can I get one cutscene that doesn't leave me dumbfounded with its magnitude of Down syndrome? The sad truth of the matter is that Chadley exists just to implement a reward mechanic to enhancing all the materia you find, in order to give the completionists something to do, world building be damned. Intertwining your gameplay and your story into one whole? What do you think this is, a good video game? Anyway, we do this, what is basically a tutorial quest for Chadley, and have the option to complete additional side quests or go straight to the 7th heaven and continue the main plot. Me, I do the side quests. Side quests are how you get loot, and I live for loot. One side quest is to help this junk dealer fellow out. See, apparently some drakes have settled in a nearby abandoned factory. This is making it impossible for junk dealer and friends to scavenge scrap in that factory. How this long abandoned factory in the middle of a struggling slum hasn't already been picked totally clean of anything of value is not explained, because world building and continuity are the enemy to this game. But that's a minor complaint, and regardless, having something called drakes be living in the building immediately adjacent to a residential neighborhood doesn't sound safe. so we should probably go deal with them regardless. So we go to the factory gate to talk to the guy guarding it to get let in. Of course, he has a big fuck-off rifle, but we're here to deal with drakes. I hear drakes, and I think of some tough, burly, quasi-dragon thing with thick scales and shit. So maybe bullets can't reliably pierce it. Maybe we need a professional bad motherfucker, a goddamned soldier, and his slim-wristed bartender friend to go kill this beast. Maybe it's not cataclysmically stupid that this fool didn't just solve the problem by shooting it. One can only hope. So we proceed into the factory, fight our way through some non-Drake Garbo enemies, and make our way to the building where we encounter our terrifying drakes. They're birds. They're birds. They're just fucking birds. I'm actually weirdly calm given how incomprehensibly stupid everything in this game is. Maybe I'm just in a good mood because I recently hit fat squat and bench press maxes in the gym. Maybe I've unintentionally stumbled onto a Nirvana-like inner peace. Or maybe it's because I'm so absolutely livid that I've wrapped all the way around into a state of serenity. Hey buddy, guard. Yes, you, right there. Standing around with your thumb up your ass like some kind of 6-foot-tall novelty dildo. Narjan was your name. Narjan, do you know what would have been real handy in taking out this immediate threat to the livelihood of the scavengers and potential threat to the actual lives of any passing children? Do you know what tool mankind has used for centuries to hunt flying creatures like these drakes? I speak, of course, of a goddamned, fuck-mothering, piss-shit-cunting rifle! How are you and become so retard? I'm not kidding when I say I'm having difficulty wrapping my head around just how blisteringly idiotic this is. It's literally incomprehensibly stupid. This is just a little nitpick. You're overreacting. Fuck that. It's been one little nitpick after another, after another, after another with this game for going on 4 hours. Even if there weren't much more significant narrative issues, which there absolutely are by the way, this unrelenting deluge of stupid shit is unacceptable. I could tolerate the occasional bugbear, a rare, necessary weasel, in service of the whole fantasy setting. I could even roll with modern guns existing side by side with swords and guns not immediately killing anything they shoot during gameplay. But there is a fucking limit to my patience. At this point, I have to ask why guns even fucking exist in this world when they seem to be capable of completely fuck all. Why did none of these shitheads think to use the fucking rifles they all own to clear out the monsters threatening their lives? Did they somehow know a soldier was going to come along looking for work who would solve the problem for them? What if Cloud didn't come along? Would Narjan just be here sitting around with his thumb up his ass and no clue what the fuck he even has a rifle for until he died of old age? Clearly, not one fucking person at Square Enix that had any hand in writing this game actually gave a shit. They didn't give a shit about the narrative, they didn't give a shit about the world building, they didn't give a shit about the internal continuity, they didn't give a shit about respecting the intelligence of the people they had the brass balls to sell this embarrassing bucket of anus pus to. I need to take a moment here to stress just how catastrophically they fucked this up, and just how little effort was needed to not fuck it up. Narjan and his rifle don't just magically exist right here in the game. They exist because they were put there. At least one person at Square Enix made a conscious decision to place Narjan here and to give him a rifle, and then took the time to make it happen, when all it took to do this right was to not give him a fucking rifle. Even if rifles do exist in the world, there's no requirement for him to have one. And how much better would it have been if he instead had a garbage can lid and a gardening tool or some shit? Think about it. That way when Cloud walks up, Narjan's all thrilled to see him, like, oh thank God, a professional. I've been managing to keep them contained, but I'm at my wit's end here. That would have only improved everything about this quest. it would create stakes and make it seem more like Cloud is actually helping these people. But they just gave Narjan a rifle and moved on. Forget how purely retarded it is, because they just didn't care. They just did not care to a degree rarely before witnessed by mankind, and it makes me angry. And fuck me, this applies to so much dumb shit they've done looking back at it. Let's run it down. Biggs and Wedge calling out to Cloud while sneaking 5 feet behind 2 guards. Easily solved by having them stay quiet, you dumb fucks. They could have given Cloud a nod and a thumbs up or the like, kept their stupid mouths shut, and there would have been no problem. What about Jesse totally no-selling a 1/4 ton of concrete to the leg? Well, the easy solution to that is to just leave it out, since it means nothing and leads to nothing. But if you insist on patting the living shit out of this game, have her actually sell the leg. She can't put weight on it and Cloud has to help her to bear it, then carve a way out for Barrett as Barrett carries Jesse. Stakes are raised, protagonist looks like a badass, and the player is left feeling these characters could conceivably ever be in real danger. But nah, lol, no one making this game thought even one step ahead for anything that happens. Continuity? What is that, an STD? How about Jesse standing on the rubble while warning it could collapse at any moment, all to point us to a staircase we could already see? Just don't have her do that, you trifling shitheels. The game doesn't need padding that badly, for fuck's sake. What of the Shinra police just letting Tradwife run away when they clearly saw her talking to the wanted terrorist? All it would have taken is for one fucking cop to say, "Hold it, girl, stop right there," before Cloud steps in front of him and tells Tradwife to scram and the fight starts. Or what about all the highly conspicuous terrorists leaving the freight car of the train to go pick a fight with Shinra desk jockeys in the passenger cars, thereby ensuring that Shinra knows they're in the Sector 7 slums? Just have them stay in the fucking freight car, you chromosomal disasters. To pile on, what about all the highly conspicuous terrorists stepping off the train onto the public platform and then loudly bragging about their success? Just have them sneak out the side, then quietly agree to meet up at the 7th heaven later. Could you at least pretend to take this life or death terrorism seriously? Or what of the 4 motherfuckers sitting around with guns, not shooting the easily shootable monsters? Either don't give them guns, you fucking cretins, or give us one big monster as a mini-boss fight, so it's at least a little believable they didn't just solve the problem in 5 minutes by shooting it. Like, all of this shit could have been done smartly with no more effort on their part than it took to make it really fucking stupid. But no one at Square Enix gave even a moment's thought to the narrative of this narratively focused game. I am angry because there is no excuse for this game to be this dumb, this outright terrible. They had plenty of budget and time to make something good, but they just cobbled together a bunch of shallow nonsense and let the melons and the nostalgia sell it to the fanboys. And with that, I'm done.
I've no more fucks to give. My fucks have all been spent. They fucked off from the building and I don't know where they went.
I'm done giving a single shit about this insulting, shambolic mess of a game. I might finish playing it eventually, because fuck it, I'm not doing anything else with my life, but I'm surely not going to bother caring what happens. If the fuckbuckets that made this game wanted me to care, maybe they should have cared. I'm also definitely not breaking down any more of this garbage. I think we can all agree I've gone on far too long as it is. Fuck this game, fuck the idiots that ruined it by thoroughly half-assing it, and fuck the toady consumer puppets who think this is good. You are wrong. Your opinion is wrong. That is a wrong opinion, and it's why we can't have nice things. And on that happy note, I'd like to thank you for watching this far, even if you are one of those toady consumer puppets, and I'll see you next time, after however much beer it takes to drown the memory of this game. Take care until then.